Video game difficulty is difficult. Recently, we've seen a resurgence of difficult games, but understanding how that difficulty works and how each genre can implement it is pretty important, because video games are a much larger beast than they were decades ago. We're growing up and subcultures are emerging.
Now, this is not a video debating whether or not games need to be difficult, but rather I want to look into understanding difficulty and how it fits into the games culture currently. And plus, I get to talk about Monster Hunter again.
Now, the real value of difficulty in video games is the thrill of triumph. When I was younger, I played through Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and this was one of my first experiences with cheat codes. You could get almost anything that you wanted, but this proved something to me. There was no struggle, and therefore no thrill of succeeding because you could not be beat. This taught me that half the fun of video games is getting better or overcoming some obstacle. Now, these obstacles can come in many forms or fashions, say for instance Sigma from Mega Man X, the Bell Tower Gargoyles from Dark Souls, or this dumbass shit from Heavy Rain. Now, they are not a one-for-one comparison, but they each represent a trial that the player must face. When games have a high level of difficulty, you can define them in two ways. The first is artificial difficulty, which is boiled down to a game hiking up enemy health, giving you less resources, and generally making the game unfair in a statistical sense. An example that comes to mind would be the Uncharted series on crushing difficulty. The enemy and their AI are not drastically different, but they hit you way harder and you take way more damage. The second one is design difficulty. This means that the difficulty is tied to mechanics such as attack patterns, level design, resources available to you, etc.
Perfect example of this is, of course, Monster Hunter. You begin the game in low rank hunts, which basically teaches you about the world and lays down the ground rules. But afterwards you enter high rank, which increases the challenge quite a bit.
But this is not just a statistical upgrade. The monsters behave vastly different and present a much larger challenge. But unlike artificial difficulty, this is not an unfair change, because the game has been preparing and teaching you all along, meaning without you even knowing it, you have the skills to overcome this challenge. Rami Ismail, a game developer for Vlambeer, wrote an article laying out how difficulty works from a developer's eye. At one point in the article, he states that everything in a game is fake. It's smoke and mirrors. A huge part of my job as a game designer is to trick you into believing you came up with a solution on your own, even though we've been signposting and carefully preparing you to figure out the solution for hours. This is a reminder that no matter how hard a game is, a good developer has anticipated this challenge and has prepared you.
So when it comes to difficulty, lots of elements come into play when just identifying it or even having the conversation. Do games need to have varying modes to appeal to gamers of all skill levels? Do developers owe it to paying customers to include a story-only mode so that they can all see the conclusion without much hassle?
I believe this is a real conversation that needs to be had. Both sides have a point. On one side, the developers are in creative control of their games. They should be encouraged to create the games that they want, and if they believe that a fixed difficulty is the way to go, then we should trust them to make that decision. On the other hand, if a game has designed the difficulty poorly, is it okay that people who paid for an experience are being kept from seeing the conclusion? Mike Mahardy and Jake Decker at GameSpot made a good point within their problem with difficulty video, saying, difficulty is a problem inherent to video games. Outside of ticket prices, movies don't usually bar you from seeing everything they have to show, and if you want to, you can skip to the last page of the next book you read. But while both sides have great points, the issue is not so black and white. As mentioned before, video games are getting older and have grown into a multicultural medium. All sorts of people play all sorts of games for varying reasons. Some play for the social aspects, some just play to escape. This is where I believe understanding difficulty and having the conversation is more productive than saying one is better than the other. Different genres cater to different play styles. I play Telltale games for a story, but I play Monster Hunter for the thrill of the challenge, and I love both. Difficulty is difficult, but as video games move forward, I think that's okay.
So what do you think? Do developers owe it to paying customers to include an easy mode, or does everyone just need to get good? I don't know. Let's go down in the comments, hash it out. If you like this video, best way to support this channel is throwing me a sub, like, comment, just because YouTube law demands that I say that. I think. Whatever. Subscribe, watch some stuff. Peace, fam.